Okay, do me a favour real quick and think back to 2018. Kanye West released his now self-titled album Ye. Big Chungus was a fresh new meme, and to the general public, Corona was nothing more than a rancid tasting beer. This was also long before Dream and his friends had rose to popularity, leaving the reputation of stan culture to fans of the K-pop genre. The biggest, or at least most vocal fanbase being, of course, dedicated to the boy band BTS. To many, the BTS fanbase seemed as if it was constantly trying to upstage other members of their own community, with excessive toxicity, unhealthy dedication, just being quite strange, and so much more that could frankly be its own video. But in a sea of instability, one individual managed to stand up above the rest. A man who allegedly paid for upwards of $300,000 worth of plastic surgery in order to truly become his favourite K-pop star, Park Jimin. What I want to figure out today is if this commitment originates from a sincere love of K-pop, a very dedicated right-wing troll, or rather a cry for attention gone way too far. Either way, this is the story of Oli London, the man who transitioned into a BTS member.
And I've been very confused about how I identify, so I am going to come out today and say that I've been transitioning. You know, I've had like 18 plastic surgeries now. I've just had a facelift, brow lift, a temple lift, an eye surgery, a canthoplasty.
His decision to detransition and the influence of social media and woke ideology on that decision. Oli London joins us live in studio.
My pronouns are they, them, Korean, Jimin, because I know a lot of people don't understand me, but I do identify as Korean.
Alright, so a bit of backstory, because I want you to actually think back to 2018, and I don't think you did a minute ago. Whilst the anti-SJW craze eventually began to fizzle out, discontent for the epic blue-haired BuzzFeed feminists with all their genders and woke libtard ideology was still very much alive and well. So, you know, political discourse hasn't really changed all too much. Online, you'd see creators constantly fearmonger about people identifying as anything they wanted to these days, which was around the time people started popping up claiming to be transracial. Oli was not the first or last to identify as transracial, but he definitely garnered the most attention. While it would be more than strange enough if Oli was simply transracial on its own, the fact he was pretty much trying to clone BTS Jimin, whose life, as people have pointed out, is pretty much completely manufactured by the record company and the horrible standards K-pop stars have to go through, it is more than just a little bit creepy. But of course, he didn't just stop with Jimin's look. Oli aspired to become a star in his own right, the self-proclaimed king of K-pop.
Denounce my home, now I'm sitting on the Korean throne. I'm the king of K-pop, my love.
His music ain't good, just like objectively. I'm not sure if you really picked up on that, but the instrumental is pretty much just Gangnam Style. Soon enough though, people began to pick up on Oli London's story, the man who paid thousands to look like if Jimin from BTS got into a severe car accident. Was this transphobic, racist, indicative of the K-pop craze going too far? Some saw Oli as yet another insane trans person, a look into the dystopian future that would be created if woke ideology was allowed to flourish as they saw it. But the thing about Oli is, despite how ridiculous his actions are, the sheer dedication and the money spent just makes it so difficult to write him off as just a troll. Because a British dude transitioning into a pre-existing Korean man, later a Korean woman, it's like one of them tweets you'd see Elon Musk laugh crying emoji at, but somebody actually did it, and it cost him thousands of dollars. I don't think it's too far-fetched to assume that Oli is, for the most part, clamouring for attention. He's been on a multitude of shows, including, but not limited to, Hooked on the Look, Dr. Phil, and This Morning.
And announced that they now identify as Korean.
Well, this has prompted quite a big reaction around the world, and Oli joins us now to tell us more. Oli, welcome. It's lovely to see you this morning. Thank you for being here. So,
안녕하세요. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hiya.
So this was a big moment for you actually, and it was.
You can really see Philip Schofield struggling not to cry in this interview. Oli reveals to Holly and Philip that his love for Korea started when he was teaching English in the country.
So my love of Korea actually started about 9 years ago. I used to live in Korea and I was an English teacher there. And I just became so fascinated with the culture, with everything about it, the language, the food, the people. And that's actually when I started having plastic surgery to have the Korean look. And then it's just gone since then. I've just become absolutely obsessed with Korea, with BTS, with Jimin. And finally, I've just had my transition surgery on my eyes, my brow, to complete my new Korean look, and I've never been happier.
This mainstream attention, in turn, brought Oli largely into the online sphere.
He doesn't really look like Jimin.
That's the whole point. He spent 100,000 to look like him.
But he doesn't.
But that's the whole point. He hasn't done it yet.
No, he has.
What?
It's past tense, mate.
Oh my god.
Oli received a lot of criticism. People who were doing more than just taking the piss out of how ridiculous the whole thing was began to accuse Oli of racism and transphobia, which is a pretty understandable trying to get behind. Oli's entire presence seemed to be a cruel mockery of the trans rights movement, using hashtags like trans Koreans are Koreans, claiming he was born in the wrong country and that his pronouns were core/Ian, and saying that the people sending him hate were in fact the real transphobes. And as if this didn't seem genuine enough, Oli welcomed, of all people, Ben Shapiro's defense, which was clearly just a blatant attempt at owning the woke transgender mob with facts and logic.
But people are very angry at Oli London. What's making you so mad, bro? Bigotry? Oli London is just as Korean as Caitlyn Jenner is a woman. Just as Korean.
Circling back around to his K-pop star aspirations, Oli remixed Korea Boo into a diss track, calling out and cancelling all of his detractors.
Priscilla, she Godzilla. Her face is full of filler. She's like such a whack job. Stop hating on me, girl. You know, you make me hoe.
I'll be honest, the music video looks like one of them like dark web cult videos. Like, not 100% sure there ain't some like assassin outside my window. But soon enough, as with almost every eccentric lolcow, Oli began to be forgotten. People just moved on. So, in what seemed to be yet another grasp for relevance, in January 2020, Oli London got married to a cardboard cutout of Jimin. I'm unsure of the legitimacy of the ceremony, as I'm yet to see any actual papers, but with Oli's level of dedication, I don't necessarily doubt they exist. It was such an emotional ceremony, I felt very emotional, he told DailyMail.com in an exclusive video of the wedding. Jimin is my idol, I've spent a lot of money on surgery to look like him, and now I've actually married him. The thing is, like, once you're already that done, you spent thousands to look like Jimin BTS, marrying a cardboard cutout ain't really gonna top that. Anyway, while all of this could be argued as a mockery of the trans rights movement, for the most part, Oli was pretty much harmless to anybody but himself. Realistically, he was just living his best life, but soon all of that would change.
And I became infatuated with a specific K-pop star called Jimin, and I modeled myself on him, so I started having surgery to look like him, and then I got to a point where I was, you know, kind of getting addicted to the surgery, and I thought, maybe I can be Korean. I love Korea, why not? Everyone else can make their own pronouns and genders and identities these days, so why not? And obviously I got some hate for that, and, you know, I've kind of grown from that and trying to learn, and, you know, now I'm trying to just be myself.
Oli has somewhat recently detransitioned back to a British guy, but instead of just moving on quietly, his insatiable thirst for attention has yet again landed him head to head with the trans rights movement. I showed the tweets earlier where Oli claimed that the people attacking him for seemingly mocking the trans community were in fact the real transphobes. Since the start, Oli has been antagonizing the trans community, although originally there was a sense of plausible deniability, that Oli was in fact delusional and didn't really pay much attention to his words or actions or their consequences. Oli has been using his detransition as a sort of street cred to fearmonger about the trans community, acting as if his detransition was some sort of escape from radical gender ideology, which gives him an insight into the insane woke mob, which I don't know, playing devil's advocate, could potentially have legs if he didn't turn himself into a BTS member. This is a grift, undeniably, yeah? And an incredibly scummy way to drum up hype for his new book, Gender Madness, One Man's Devastating Struggle with Woke Ideology and His Battle to Protect Children. I was initially going to be the brave one to bite the bullet, buy the book, review its contents. That was until I found out it comes out in September, and also it's 19 quid. Fuck that one. Oli's rhetoric goes against the simple mockery of pronouns and gender identity he was accused of so long ago, claiming his pronouns to be core/Ian, although that's not to say he doesn't still indulge in a bit of that, making Facebook boomer-esque memes claiming that these days it's harder to come out as conservative or Christian than it is to come out as trans or non-binary, unironically using the phrase woke mob in regards to those who have allegedly put a target on his back, and multiple conflicting tweets claiming his pronouns are alpha/male, anti/woke, trans/ men do/not belong/in/women/spaces, and many more. Essentially, he really needs a new joke. I mean, if this is it wouldn't be too much of an issue. I mean, online bigotry is unfortunately a dime a dozen. But as with everything else, of course, Oli had to take this a step too far. Oli's unique story, the claims of it being an all too common case of woke indoctrination, seems to leave conservative talk show hosts simply foaming at the mouth, giving him a fast-track ticket to spread his harmful rhetoric from a seemingly credible source, and of course advertised to his target demographic, unhinged bigots. From random right-wing YouTube channels to household names like Piers Morgan and Tucker Carlson, people with large audiences Oli can easily influence. To them, he's an insane survivor of this boogeyman telling them exactly what they want to hear. Oli has decided that gender-affirming healthcare, being, as he believes, so easily accessible, is what led to his addiction, what led to his life being changed forever, as if he wasn't seeking private plastic surgeons for these procedures, as if the majority of these procedures had anything to do with gender-affirming healthcare, parroting anti-trans rhetoric at every turn.
So detransitioning is a term for anyone that transitioned their gender, whether that's medically or socially, and then decided that wasn't right for them, whether they were peer pressured into transitioning originally or not, they decide to detransition. And it's not an easy process. You have to, decide. There's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of attacks from the LGBT community if you dare to leave this trans ideology. And we're seeing thousands of teens publicly detransitioning on TikTok, on Reddit, and Instagram. And they're very brave to share their stories and what they've been through, but sadly they are being attacked every single day with death threats, with harassment, all for speaking their truth.
Oli's claims here are basically just flipping the truth completely. I'm not going to deny that there are definitely some people who realise transitioning ain't for them, which is why they detransition, but the facts are, most people detransition due to lack of support from friends and family. Just the stigma that Oli's doing nothing but perpetuating. Don't be fooled. Oli's goal is not to protect children, it's to make the lives of trans people significantly harder, all because of a mistake he made which has practically nothing to do with them. Much like the other right-wing politicians, whenever something bad comes out about a trans person, Oli jumps on it like a vulture. Somewhat recently, as of writing, there was a horrible massacre at a school. Whilst the claims are somewhat dubious, it's widely believed that the perpetrator was a transgender man. This person deserves no sympathy. No matter what they experienced, it doesn't at all excuse their actions. However, the fallout of this has made it evident that these right-wingers don't care about the victims. They're much more obsessed with the fact the massacre might have been done by a trans person. Oli is no different. A quick look over his Twitter shows nothing but the same parroted rhetoric over and over again, claiming trans activism is a cult void of empathy, morals, and basic humanity, using the actions of one to condemn an entire group of people. In more recent news, Chris the meme god from Mr. Beast came out about their hormone replacement therapy and has been getting a ton of completely unwarranted hate from 12-year-olds on the internet. And of course, Oli couldn't help himself but hop on that as well. Recently, Bud Light sponsored a trans woman. Oli weren't happy about that either, claiming the company is pushing real women aside. Obviously, transitioning wasn't right for Oli because he transitioned into a different race, a different culture. And transitioning into a woman was incredibly short-lived and definitely just a byproduct of his clear addiction to plastic surgery.
And I got to a point where I was, kind of getting addicted to the surgery.
Oli has gone from being ridiculed by the far right to being welcomed with open arms, from attempting to parasitically attach himself to the trans community to antagonizing them at every opportunity. But after all that, there's still just one question I have in my mind. Why? Why did Oli spend all of this time, money, and effort? I have a few theories. The first one just being plain old insecurity.
Why does nipple correction make you more Korean?
Well, I guess that was just random, but I was always unhappy with my chest. I used to get teased, I used to get called fat at school, so I don't think the nipples necessarily make me Korean, but certainly the facial procedures, I feel like they make me Korean. But yeah, nipples is like, I guess that
just
doesn't
get it fixed whilst you're there.
Oli was very clearly unhappy with his body, going to such an extreme just to, in his eyes, fix himself. Which is sad because he weren't really bad looking before these procedures, he was just pretty average. He claims he was constantly bullied for his weight, appearance, and more feminine mannerisms in school. Insecurity can lead people to do crazy things But I don't feel like that's the end of the story. I said earlier that I find it hard to write him off as just a troll, but for my own sanity, I refuse to believe he isn't self-aware to at least some extent. But that begs the question then, how self-aware is he? Is he simply a right-wing troll who's somehow been meticulously planning everything for years, like the Riddler, transitioning, getting all this attention just to give himself an air of credibility when he eventually detransitions and begins attacking the trans community? Or maybe he's just been going wherever the wind takes him, accidentally ending up in a position wherein he can successfully enact harm towards one of the most oppressed and vulnerable groups in society today. That could explain his willingness to accept praise from Ben Shapiro a few years ago. Maybe Oli is simply just an incredibly dedicated attention seeker, not really caring what he does or who he harms to get this attention. When the novelty of a guy who transitioned into Jimin from BTS eventually ran out, he went for a different angle, mocking himself just to bring himself back into the spotlight, which is genius and has been wildly successful if so. Or maybe he is simply just delusional. Maybe Oli genuinely believed that he was indeed a pre-existing Korean guy trapped in the body of some random British bloke, eventually realizing he had actually gone too far. Confused, scared, angry, Oli directs his rage to a community he had at one point tried to attach himself to for no avail. I think in reality it's some concoction of all of these. If Oli was just an attention-seeking troll, I doubt he would spend all this much time and money. If it was just insecurity or he genuinely believed he was Jimin, why take every opportunity to bask in the spotlight? And of course, all of his actions, especially recently, are just plain delusional. Although in the end I do think the thirst for attention is clearly his main fuel. I think you could easily compare Oli London to someone like Nikocado Avocado, to seemingly normal people to begin with an insatiable hunger, no pun intended, for attention, realizing that they could get there if they irreparably damage their bodies, reputations and relationships in the process, anything just to recapture that initial spike of relevancy. Of course, I mean, I can't see inside Oli's brain. Frankly, I kinda doubt I'd actually want to anyway, so unfortunately we'll never be able to understand his true intentions. There is one thing I do know, and it's that the story of Oli London is certainly a strange one. I want to thank everyone who's watched this video so far. Sorry it took so long to come out. I had a cold. I wanted to record but I couldn't. Sorry about that. I recently hit 1K, got monetized. Thank you guys. If I can figure out how to, I'm gonna try and put a fundraiser down below for a trans charity to hopefully somewhat offset some of the harm Oli's actually done. Big things coming to the hahayeah channel, mark my words, yeah? I'd implore you to follow at h_hahayeah on Twitter, because I actually make bangers on there, and subscribe. I don't plan on stopping at 1,000. So thank you for watching this far, and with that being said, I'll see you next time.